Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, maybe good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Global Chamber AI Globinar series. My name is Yuka Nakasone. I am Executive Director of Global Chamber in Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, and Malaga. My work focuses on helping companies expand globally while navigating cross-cultural collaboration, new technologies, and evolving market dynamics. This series was launched to explore one of the most important forces shaping global businesses today, artificial intelligence. Each session brings together innovators, entrepreneurs, and business leaders to share practical insights about how AI is transforming organizations and decision making. For those joining us for the first time, a quick note about Global Chamber. We are a purpose-driven global business network active in more than 600 cities worldwide, connecting CEOs, investors, and leaders who are building and expanding across borders. One thing we consistently hear from leaders around the world is uncertainty. Markets move quickly, industries shift rapidly, and organizations often need to make strategic decisions with incomplete information. The leaders who thrive in this environment are those who can identify change early and act before others do. And that is exactly what today's session is about. It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Jean-Philippe, JP, also known as JP, founder and CEO of Axon J. JP is a deep tech entrepreneur with 3 successful exits and 5-time speaker at the World Economic Forum in Davos. His background spans economics, statistics, and even ornithology, the study of birds, a fascinating combination that reflects his deep interest in identifying patterns within complex systems. Through Axon J, JP and his team are pioneering hybrid AI, an approach that combines machine learning, advanced statistical modeling, and human expertise to detect emerging signals in the market. Their technology helps organizations identify opportunities before they become trends, allow leaders to move from reactive decision-making to proactive strategy. Today, JP will share insights, real-world examples, and practical perspectives on how hybrid AI can transform the way leaders interpret data, anticipate change, and navigate uncertainty. Jean-Philippe, thank you very much for coming. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for having me, Yuka, and cool to be present at an event of the Global Chamber because I like the setup of Global Chamber because technology doesn't have any boundaries, I mean geographically, so it works on a global scale. So that's the first immediate connection I see. So also to emphasize, I see nature as my inspiring universe. So, like I love the art of noticing. So everything you notice has an impact, has a role to play in, I would say, in the ecosystem. And if you try to understand your ecosystem well, you can start, doing things with that. So that's exactly what we're doing at Action J. We are basically talking about AI. So let me dive immediately into the topic because thank you, Yuka, for presenting me. So this is indeed my 4th startup or scale up meanwhile. And I always worked in deep tech. So I'm a technopositivist. I believe that through technology, we can make a better world. But we need to use the technology in the right way, and we need to understand. So understand first your ecosystem before you start acting and working with it. So that's a very important thing. And um, AI today nothing is new. It already exists for 30, 40, 50 years. And the last 100 years, give and take, math didn't change. So these are the givens. What has changed is society has changed, computing power has changed, and since the internet, people are ready to embrace technology in a different way. So, and I'll give you another scoop, is that everything you read about AI today in the press, well, 80% or 75% is not even AI. It's about intelligence. It's about business intelligence, BI. It's about mathematics. It's about all that. It's about like analytics, but it's not AI. Everybody shuffle everything's on AI, and of those 20% that is AI, well, we only know one little part of AI, which is NLP, natural language processing. This is just a tiny part of AI. And what is natural language processing? This is everything also that has to do with LLMs, large language modeling, what we see today in the chat GPTs and in the Lushas and in the etc. DeepSeeks and in the Clouds, etc., etc. So this is only a tiny part of everything that is AI. AI is so much more. So like you see on the picture over here, there's so much more things about AI. I'm not going to go in every detail about that, but like I'll give some examples because I don't want to go into a mathematical discussion. I just want to tell you that AI has several other topics that are forming the total chapter that is AI. And I'll come to that a little bit more. But first about nature. I want to talk about nature because this is the base of everything. Everything looks at me and says, hey, why do you connect it with nature? Because, like I said, Earth is a algorithm that exists already more than 4 billion years. And that's a whole lot of training we had on Earth. And nature is also very creative and invents new things. And it's much better at it than we are. When we invent something, we always create a byproduct. And we don't know what to do with the byproduct. That's our biggest problem. We're also creative, but we're not as creative as nature. But that will be explained in a minute. And I'm a true believer in biomimicry. It's mimicking nature in what we do. And with Axon J, I try to do that every day. So that only the name Axon J already is axon, is the cable connecting your brain cells. And the bigger the cable, the thicker the cable, the more myelin, the faster the electric pulses goes. And J is one of the smartest birds on Earth. Like Native Americans were predicting the weather based on jay behavior. So imagine the blue jay, but it's a whole family of birds. It's part of the corvidae, the crows, the jays, the magpies, etc. All right, what is biomimicry? I'm going to go very fast to that, but it's important you understand the AI for that. Biomimicry over here is shaping or copying shape or form. Look at this water lily. They're always clean. Go and walk outside. They start popping up within here in a month and a half. You'll see they're always clean, unless something big drops on it, but they're always clean. How come? Because when it rains, a raindrops falls on it and it moves away and it has a certain shape in the surface and it takes the dirt away. So now scientists are looking into it to copying that in paint. What if your house is painted like that or your car? You don't need to clean it anymore. So that is biomimicry. Remember the Velcro, geckos. It's based on the structure of the feet of geckos that are on walls. Look at, this is the ultimate weapon. This is an owl. I'm not going to show the movie because it's going to take us too long, but this is an owl, and an owl, you don't hear an owl fly, a pigeon, a falcon, whatever other bird you hear flying. So because it has a certain structure on its feathers. So that means that it breaks all the noise. So it flies at night, you don't see it, it makes no sound, and it takes its prey. That's the ultimate weapon. That's why stealth is based on this technology. They just copied the shape of how owls are flying and what owls are doing. Another is the kingfisher. There is a whole, that's the video about, but I'm not going to show it, but there's a whole, the bullet train in Japan made a big bang every time it came out of the tunnel because of the air pressure that was pushed forward. And you feel that when you're on a tube in London, you feel the air before the train is actually there. And it created a bang, a very noise. And it was always in very dense area where people were living. So it was a problem. But the CEO of the bullet train, of the company that managed the bullet train, was a bird watcher. And he looked at different shapes, and he took the shape of a beak of the head of a kingfisher, the shape of the belly of an Adelaide penguin, and then also he applied the owl structure of its feathers in the antenna to capture electricity of the trains, to all bringing the friction down and bringing the noise down and facilitating all that. With a result, it was 20% less electricity use, no bang anymore, and a 10% increase in speed. So you see, this is, like, you can look at nature. That's what I'm trying to say. But the ultimate thing, there are two, like if you go a step further, is over here. You see termite dens or ant dens or even coyote dens. Well, in Zimbabwe, they opened up a new shopping mall with no air conditioning. They just mimicked the way the air circulations are in dens. So it's 40 degrees outside most of the time, and they managed to get a 26 degrees stable temperature because of this air circulation. So all the things that are important for that. But this is the picture that we all saw in at school, at primary school. But this is like the ultimate picture. It's like everything is recycled, upcycled, downcycled, side cycled. And this is where creativity of Earth is coming, is that there's no such a thing as a byproduct. We always have that byproduct, like plastics. We don't know what to do with it. It takes thousands of years to be recycled. Same with nuclear energy. It's a clean energy, but we have nuclear waste. We don't know what to do with it, etc., etc. So Earth can resolve any problem. It just needs some time to adapt to it and to do that. So yes, with all the climate change, the only problem is it's not that Earth cannot digest it. It's just going too fast for us, and that's something that we need to look out. We need to look out for. So for me, it's basically just look outside. Now, that was a little introduction on nature. Let's go back to AI. So we are using, for instance, on our platform, quite a lot of, we call it reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning is a big part in AI. Well, this is something that is happening a lot. So you see, for instance, over here, a flock of sparrows flying, and you see this is called murmuration, and everybody thinks this is something that is happening randomly. Now, all those sparrows are going somewhere. They have a goal. They're going to that tree to sleep, that field to eat, etc., etc. But what are they doing? We call this swarm intelligence. They're not talking all to each other because there might be 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 of birds. So they're not talking to each other. They're talking to 10 to 14 birds around them. That's why there's never a collision, and they go to the same goal. And this is called swarm intelligence. So when you have petabytes of data around you, and that's the race for the data is always on, you don't need to have all the data to make a right prediction. You just need the relevant data. You just need the data that is pulled in and coming from a swarm intelligence and used as a swarm intelligence. So that's how autonomous cars are working. That's how robots are talking to each other, etc., etc. They don't need to talk with everyone. They just need to talk with what's going on around them. But I give you another one is, for instance, how are ants looking for food? or going to war, for instance, let us put it that way. It's not a general ant that says we're going to find that other colony or we're going to go there to look for food. No, they swarm randomly out, and then one ant by accident is bumping into food. You can try that on your terrace or in your garden and put some food there, but randomly one ant bumps into it, goes back to the nest and leaves a pheromone trail. The next ant that bumps into that trail says, aha, let's investigate this. And he goes and he says, okay, there's indeed a piece of bread there. Let's go back to the nest where there's some piece of bread with a small part of that, and we reinforce that. And in seconds or in minutes, you'll have like a highway of ants going there. Take the bread away and it will fade away. That's called reinforcement learning. That's how nature is working. But you have all types of algorithms that are based on those natural behaviors. And that's why we say AI is nothing new. It's just what is existing with math that is 50 years old or older, hasn't changed, but we found new ways in accelerating that. So neural networks are basically based on how our brains are working and looking like. So yes, but there's a big but. What is important to me is that AI is everywhere, that you need to understand AI very well. So machine learning is part of AI. When you're using machine learning, it's not that you are having insights. It's not that you have all the data. And the value creation is the ultimate goal, always. We want to create value, we want to create, like moving forward, etc. But I'm going to tell you a little story about a wolf and a husky. So what is this about? So they trained at UCLA, they did an experiment. It's not from yesterday, it's a couple of years old. And they said, we want to train an algorithm to automatically, on images, on Google Images, recognize husky or wolves. That's what we want to do. So by billions of pictures, they want to find out, the machine needs to know by, I don't know what it was, 96 or 97% certainty, this is a wolf, this image, and this is a husky. Without any human interventions, without any human in the loop, as they call it. So we did that, or they did that at UCLA, and after a couple of weeks, after crunching petabytes of data, the machine came out the result, and it passed the test. And then the science people were starting looking at it and investigating it. Over here, you see a picture of a wolf. Well, bad luck, it's not a wolf, it's a husky. Because what you see over here on his collar, look at my little arrow, you see he's got a collar. So it's in a wild environment, so you might conclude this is a wolf. And then over here, you see fences, and you say, okay, that must be a husky. Well, no, this is a wolf. It's in a zoo. It's very hard for a machine because you have white wolves, black wolves, and all the variation in between. And husky have also a lot of variation. And by the way, they look the same. They have the ears on the same place, the eyes, the teeth, they have the same morphology, etc., etc. So it's not easy for a machine. But finally, they did it. They've passed the test. So here are billions of Google images that they worked on, and then they came to the test. So, and they started investigating how the machine was reasoning to come to the test. And it bypassed the system. It just said, every time there's snow, it's a husky. Because based on all the images that it chunked, that was the conclusion. Of course, the scientific result was it was good, but it was not good scientifically because the reasoning was wrong. So I'm trying to say that everybody is now going into his LLM, his chatbot or whatever, and assumes that the result is right. Also today, it's not going to be only about X and J. I want you to think in a different way how to use AI. But that will come also in a minute. I give you an example. AI has no brain. Everybody thinks AI has a brain. No, AI is dumb. Very dumb. Does it does good work? Of course it does good work. But maybe try to spell Frankfurt backwards. The machine is not, the LLM is not capable of doing. Maybe now Frankfurt, because a lot of people will ask that question, it's possible, but take your local little village that is not very known, ask that to spell backwards, it's not going to work. It's going to make a mistake. For the simple reason is because a human brain thinks different than an LLM, an AI brain. LLM sees words as blocks, not as individual letters. So, and LLMs will always give you the median in the Gauss curve. It will never go to the extremes. So what you will hear and see is what is the most asked and the most seen and the most demanded, etc., etc. Am I saying it's wrong? I never said it's wrong, but you will never get the answer. You always get the median answer. So be aware of that. It looks at patterns. So why intelligence is looking at pattern deviation. So it's different. So be aware of that. I'm just trying to give you some data input to understand. So current top use of AI in business. So that's B2B, where LLMs, that's only a little part of AI, can help you with. The most is in support, because there you upload all your master data. Master data means all your company data. Chatbots will, with LLM intelligence, find immediately the patterns and the data that is needed to your answer. So you can ask questions, or I need the customer number, which customer is this, what is doing. So this is working super well. We call this procedure. LLMs are super good at procedure. And hey, in a B2B space, I didn't see at this moment on a global scale a solution in B2B that helps significantly the top line or the bottom line. In B2B, everybody is playing with AI at this moment. I'm not saying in B2C, I'm saying in B2B. And I will tell you why in a minute. But you see, LLM uses are used for those things. Number two, I think is a very dangerous one, but that's my personal opinion, is sentiment analysis. In B2B, that means that you look at all data points to make a certain sentiment about a company. So that's, to me, okay, because ActionJ, we're also doing that. But companions, and I do a little jump in B2C, the number one use of LLMs is sentiment or psychological companions. So you talk, as you talk to a coach or to a psychologist or to a therapist or etc. You can do that, but to me that's very dangerous. Again, you're getting the median, but you have an all other belief in that. They say it's to democratize therapy, because therapy is only for the happy few. It's very expensive. So this is a debate that is ongoing now, but that's in B2C, that's something. All right. So let's put AI and the different types from a business perspective. Let's put that in line. So AI, like I said in the beginning, is not a single technology. It's a collection of all different engines and math and implementations of different things. You have generative AI, very popular. It's about NLP, words, IDs. You can, you can ask the machine to help you with that, but it will always give the median. Look out, and it's very dumb. So it's always about the pattern it will give. So probably what you'll get has been done a million times already to your competition and to everybody else. Am I saying it's bad? No, it can help you really well in procedure. Predictive AI, this is used quite a lot in forecasting, but again, based on your data you're putting in, because it needs to have structured data. Assistive AI, part of my English, but before we had to read the manual, the F manual, well, it's going to help you with that. But you need to feed the manual. You need to feed, you need to give the instructions so that it can help a lot of people. Conversational, people love that. People love to talk. Well, it's always going to give you, again, the median, and you can have a conversation. Will it take decisions? No, it will never take decisions. So that's also something that is going on. And then that's something new. You have agentic AIs. So it executes specific tasks, but it can go in several blocks to get the data from. I will explain you that in a minute. So to me, AI in business is not one of them. In order to help you top line or bottom line, you need an integration of everything, because then it will start making sense. So from a technology part of view, so let's quickly dive into that. You have LLMs, what I just talked about, based on NLP. You have RAGs, I'll explain that. You have AI agents, and you have MCPs. So MCPs, it used to be APIs, so it's called MCPs today. So, okay, what is it? What is a RAG? Well, very simple. A RAG will ask you, I'll give an example, for instance. What is a RAG is, for instance, you ask, what is the weather like in New York tomorrow? So you ask that. So you type that in. Well, it will need to go to a data source or weather forecasting, and it will immediately try to find it. And it will say it's going to be sunny today. So that's what a RAG is doing, is making sure that your question is translated and connected with a data source that gives you the answer, and then the LLM will give it back to you. That's how it works. That's a RAG, very simply. What is an MCP? An MCP is a protocol, is a kind of language that makes you talk with other data sources or databases or blocks. Could be you upload your Gmail, you give them an access to your Gmail, to your GitHub, to whatever, to your Slack. So today there's a lot of talk about, like the cloud technology is basically you're giving access to everything you have on your server, on your PC, and AI can do whatever. It can access everything. It's using MCPs and APIs for that. Okay, so for instance, when a chat message is received by an LLM, it can go to an agent, and the agent can take the decision, okay, let's go to this source, that source, whatever, and then it can, feed you in another technology what the answer is. So this agent will take the decision to go to which data sources and then find the solution. Okay, so what will be the three categories for 2020 after 25? And AI will be autonomous agents, what I just did with, for instance, a cloud technology that gives you give access to everything you have, and then it starts doing, and you give them a task and it starts doing it. So much more than just writing text. So that's one direction it will go. Another direction it will go is hybrid AI. It's what I all explained, but together, integrated, and with a human in the loop. And another thing, the third thing is, and that is what OpenAI is aiming on today very much, is everything ChatGPT, for instance, whatever those types of companies are doing, but integrated with your enterprise data. So that means all the data from your company. So you need to upload all the data of your company. That's what they want, because you're going to be bound with them and they can use the data to do other things. Personally, with ActionJ and myself, we believe in a second hybrid AI for B2B. So AI embedded in the workflows and being able to do all that, like even sales generation, churn forecasts, whatever, financial flows, everything, but with human in the loop. All right. So in hybrid AI you need to have the rules and the humans and the automation in there, because we humans cannot, chunk petabytes of data. We're just not made for that. So we are made to make the right decisions. But in order to make the right decisions, I think we need technology to help us and give us all the elements to make the right decision. So, and this can have an immensely increased business value, because you have all the data, you have the reliability, you lower your risk, you go for the best performance. So yeah, so you have all that. So that's what I'm called. You can become a superhuman with on your shoulder a machine that helps you and prepping you to make the right decisions. But there again, what I said in the beginning, you need to understand your ecosystem before you can start making the right decision. So, and that's why we think hybrid AI will use all the different types of AI, like agentics, agents that are preparing, predictive AI, it's all in there, conversational, assistive AI, and will have the strength of a human as well. So if you combine all that, you can make like the ultimate machine, like the owl that can take the right decision at the right moment. Because business is a very volatile thing. Tomorrow it might rain and you take a different business decision, completely the opposite of today. Tomorrow, you know, like Trump or Putin or whoever is dropping a bomb elsewhere, and you might take a completely different business decision. No machine can predict that. So yes, so machine needs to prepare it so you can shift the best way. We also see that in the market development here by Gartner, and you see that, so with a golden box is what ActionJ is doing, but you see that the blue dots are coming up within 2 and 5 years, the dark dots 5 to 10 years, and the triangles within 10 years. So, and the triangle is artificial general intelligence. That's everything together, working autonomously. That's the biggest dream of all AI companies, big ones. They want to do that. Personally, in B2B, I don't think that's a good solution, but that's something else. That's another discussion. And that's why you see reinforcement learning with human feedback, supervised learning, that's basically a little bit the same, but the stage before that. AI-enabled applications, so where you got, you know, like it's engined by AI and it's pushing you, but you still have the control. And AI-enabled virtual assistants, we already have that today. All right. In order to be a superhuman, you need to use the machines in the right way. So I'm asking you a question. If, and I'm going to read it, but let it sink in. If an AI can write 80% of a software's program's boilerplate code, does the human program become an architect or just a glorified spell check? So what do I mean by that? Today we have already programs like Claude and other ones that are coding and lovable. Those companies are basically saying, we code for you, you don't need to code anymore. And I truly believe that will be the future. All the repetitive tasks will be taken away. So I also think that humans will become more an architect of their business, an architect of their life, an architect of their career, an architect of whatever, what they want to do with the help of machine. So yes, and this is where it's going to. So you need to become an architect. If somebody asks me what will be the job of tomorrow, well, the job of tomorrow will be become an architect and also try to unlearn and relearn. These are the two biggest things that you need to have as skills. Okay. Also a very important question. Would you trust an AI doctor that is 90% accurate but can't explain how it reached a diagnosis, or a human doctor who is 80% accurate but can explain every step? And this is, those 98% and 80% is reality. This is backed up by stats. This is really the situation. So if you feed the right data into a bot, 98% of the time, it will give you the right diagnosis. If you go to a doctor, it's only 80% with the same data, with the same input. But the doctor is explaining how it comes to that conclusion. Where would you go? So that's a question you need to answer yourself. The second thing is, when I prompt and the AI is coming with an answer, I always re-prompt with this. I always do that because I want to understand the ecosystem. I want to understand how it operates. And I'm asking Mr. Bot, whatever name you gave it to him or to her, is why should I trust your previous answer? And provide three reasons why your reasoning or your answer might be wrong. And I'm not saying it's wrong, I just want to understand how the AI is reasoning. And that's what I say by we're taking tens or sometimes hundreds of decisions a day where the machine can really help you to make the right decision. But you need to use the machine in the right way. Okay. I don't know if there are any questions about that before I start a little bit deeper on because I can't see when somebody is intervening, Yuka.
There's no questions on the chat, so maybe
Okay.
you can go.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah. So
on.
I will
Thank you.
continue. I'll talk
Yeah.
a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about ActionJ. So that was like an introduction in AI more. So where is my screen? Where is my screen? I will be made stop sharing and I will reshare. I'm sorry about that. Oh, where is
It's
my
okay.
poll?
Take your time. If anybody has any questions, please put it. There are two questions from Jim. Jim, would you like to come offline and ask him? Hi.
Hi, this is awesome. Since you can't read the chat, my question there's two questions. Humans innovate, nature evolves. Human innovation also delivers supposed to be unintended consequences and byproducts, where nature evolves and eliminates the same. How do the humans address using AI bad people from doing bad things with the product?
A great question, Jim. I have a very simple answer for you, but we can elaborate. Tech or AI, it's a bit of a cliche, but like tech or AI or whatever tech it's the same. I mean, it's like a hammer. You can use it to build a house and you can use it to smash somebody's head in. So what do I mean by that is that you need to be a little bit more awake, aware when you start using this. So it's in the behold of the user how you're using that. So and that's what I'm trying to do with the questions that I just asked. I mean, if you take a decision as a business or as an entrepreneur, like every decision has consequences. And you can use the machine to help you to find out what are the consequences so you can take better decisions. And that's how I see the consequences for products, etc., etc. Nature is indeed evolves. And what does not work just dies out. It's Darwinism. So it has another little different of concept, but it's also creativity. But it's randomly creativity. Look at the ants, how they're looking for food. They just randomly go everywhere. That doesn't mean they're not creative. But when creative means that it helps them go forth, it will be reinforced in a positive way and they will use that more. So that's maybe something we are different, so we're a little bit more involved, but that's a different philosophical discussion. We can think about, okay, let's use machines to make us more aware of taking the right decisions by getting more input and finding more scenarios, etc. So for me, and I see this as an entrepreneur, I see this as a tremendous opportunity to try new things because I can have the help of the machine. I can try more things, I can try different things, I can, etc., etc. So for me, that's like truly very inspirational. And that's why I'm looking at nature as well. That is continuously trying things. And it's also, and then you can go into psychology, it's also about your environment. And then there's a whole new world that goes open about awareness in that things. You need to surround yourself with the right people. You need to have the right environment. You need to have the right conditions around you. But that's how nature is working as well. you have in the whole world the seed banks. There's full of seeds over there, and they only emerge when the conditions are good. So in the desert, it's full of seeds, but it's just not germinating because there's no water. There's no an ideal condition. And that's the same. So you need, and that's what I find so fascinating about business, is that, like, you all need to have all those ingredients, and let's use the machine to find out what are the right paths and the right scenarios. And then to come to your second question, because it's connected, is yes, we fit into a Star Trek world because you can use those scenarios. You can and move faster at, like I will say in a funny way, at warp speed. You can change your momentum. You can change the way you do business, and it's going to go faster. It's going to go deeper. It's going to go further, because you're becoming a superhuman. So I think this is all interconnected. I don't know if that's an answer to your questions, Jim. So
Going back to the first one, nature will take 1,000,000 years to develop or eliminate byproducts.
Mm-hmm.
Bad people have it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
How we don't have millions of years to stop the breaches and the hackers and all of that. How does, as a group, make sure you can't make sure the bad guys are going to get it because they already have it? So the question is, they have the same technology, but using it immediately versus the $1,000,000 from innovation to evolution. And how do we handle those byproducts that they're using already?
Yeah.
The bad byproducts.
Yeah, I get it. So I'm going to reshare my screen, because this is the part where we are using, okay, share. I don't know if you see my screen now. Let's do this. Yes, 1 second. And then I'll use slideshow. All right. So if you have questions, please. I don't see the chat anymore, and I will respond to your answer, Jim, because it's coming in one of my slides. Please, Yuka, help me with it.
Yes.
All right. So at ActionJ, we call it a self-machine learning platform. So it's a platform where we make predictions for B2B. And that means that we are ticking a few boxes. And that's partly an answer to your question, Jim. We are transparent, because 99% of all AI today, and this is where the bad guys are taking advantage, it is not transparent. So that means that you get results and you don't know how the results are built. So to me, that's the most important, to have a human in the loop, because when you talk with a marketeer, a finance guy, whatever, I'm not a finance specialist. I'm an AI specialist, or a data specialist, or a science specialist. So that means that I cannot know what is best for marketing or for finance. The finance guys know that. And by the way, the market is, like I said, very volatile. So yeah. So what do you need to do, according to me, is that you need to give full transparency how your reasoning is working. I'm not saying, like revealing your IP, but revealing how your reasoning is, because I'm not the marketeer. I'm the AI guy. So you need to have clear and transparent algorithms on the methodology they're using. So that already eliminates that bad guys can do bad things with your results. And that's called the transparency versus the black box. That's, by the way, what the EU AI Act has in it. You need to be transparent. They don't define transparency 100%, but still for discussion. So that's also a thing. Another thing is, it needs to be decentralized, I think. Not that I'm a big fan of in technology being 100% decentralized, but I think I'm a little bit of Robin Hood in that it needs to be decentralized. Blockchain and all that is also all decentralized. So this is how it works. So that means the power is with the users, is not with the centralized person. So you see the movement today of the clouds of today, of especially OpenAI, especially of Mistral and all those companies, they're getting as much possible data. They're black boxed. They are trying to centralize it to keep the power for the future. And that's why 2 months ago, all of a sudden, all answers on your prompt in ChatGPT are sponsored. That's why you need to ask the questions I just asked you. You remember? Oh, how did you come to the results? Blah, 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 blah. So you need to ask that. Because the results are sponsored and you don't see it. If you go in Google, you say these are sponsored results. But when you go to ChatGPT, it's not the case. That's called centralized. And I don't think that's a good way of using AI. But of course, social media, etc., that's the movement they're going in. For me personally, it always needs to be inspired by nature. I explained you with biomimicry. And we work with signals. We don't work with data. We don't sell one data for $1. We are working with signals. So a signal, I'll explain that in a minute, can come from different data sources, but we're using the signals in our models. So that means that we need less electricity to do all the crunching. But I'll explain that in a minute. So for me, these are 4 basic rules in AI that are very important in B2B AI. So yeah. All right. So what are we doing? We are predicting company behavior in real time. Because as humans, we can't chunk all that all the time. So that's why we need a machine to help us. So we are following more than 50 trillion data sources on a daily basis. We are chunking more than 25 million signals every day to predict which company will be in need of cash, where to invest, which company will buy your product, which one of your customers will churn, etc., etc. So that's what we do. All right. So I'm skipping a few slides, but we do that with agents. So we have a lookalike agent, we have a competitor agent, we have a churn agent, etc., etc. But I will explain how this is working. All right. So you have all the different agents. You can find them on our website. But how does it work? So very simple. We're having a platform, and we follow and we predict more than 300 million companies, their behavior. So we have a global reach, and all those companies are creating signals everywhere in their data, online, on their website, in the press, on social media, everywhere. But it's never one signal that makes the difference. It's always a cocktail. So, and those signals are coming from everywhere, like I said. I said more than 50 million or trillion data sources everywhere. We have aggregators, we have our own data, we create our own data, that's called dark data or synthetic data, etc., etc. And all is in our platform, and basically you give feedback on the results. It's called the feedback loop. That's the reinforcement learning. But I will tell you that in a minute how this works. So there's web data, wherever it comes from. There's official data, publicized data. There's unstructured data coming from everywhere, like news, for instance, or whatever, events, or there's social media, there's awards, there's BI sources, etc., etc. So yeah. And this is translated in 50 million daily signals. So you might follow 100,000 companies, and we rank them most likely to buy your product, for instance, to less likely to buy your product according to the agent you're selecting. So, and it will be ranked, and you see that in real time. And you see also why the machine put that ranking in. You'll see, that company is number 1 on the list because we detected this cocktail of signals, and then you see with the number of stars which signal has what weight in the algorithm. So you see that a new logo on the website means he signed a new deal. Today it appeared, so it's on the website or in the news. Doesn't matter where it comes from. Or he appointed a new CTO. That can come from LinkedIn, that can come from the company website, that can come from, patent file, can come from everywhere. So, and this is creating a dynamic, and it's influencing a ranking, and then you get feedback. Oh, this was okay when I contacted the customer or the prospect. Yes, this was right. And it says you need to contact them now with this message because these are the signals that we detected. And then you can give feedback. And the machine is not always right. The machine is lots of time wrong, so you give negative feedback, so you get more of the good. The hand says, don't take it into account in the calculation, and you can put remarks in, and we have bots that are digesting that automatically. But the thing is, you can do that for millions of companies. And the thing is, the machine is also doing time series and automatic regressions and continuously produces new signals with a lower weight in the algorithm, but you can give feedback on that. You can detect new things and new patterns and new pattern deviations in that. And this is an ongoing thing. This turns around continuously in almost real time. The big advantage of that is today the only companies that are making a lot of money with AI are consultancy companies. It's not OpenAI. They're not profitable yet. Only in infrastructure today, OpenAI has more than, I think it was 80 million euros cost on a weekly basis just on infrastructure. On a weekly basis. I'm not talking about the rest, just that. So, and it's not with 20 euro that it will be profitable, but it will come. That's why they start to do sponsoring, and they will sell your data as well, or they will do something with your data. So that's because they need to do it, because they cannot burn that type of cash all the time and find new funding. So at a certain moment it will stop. So consultancy are making consultancy on AI. They're giving you the results after their consultancy. You get the results, but like I said, it's black boxed, and you don't know how they made the results. So what is happening is over here, you get it from a consultant, which is not bad, don't get me wrong, but the moment you receive it, we call it the data drifts up, because the data in the back has changed, and you don't know how they made it. So what is happening, you're using the results, and it goes down because time goes on, and it's starting to be less effective. So what do you need to do? You need to go back to them, repay 2,500 euro a day, and they need to update their algorithm, and so you get new results, and it goes like that every time. That's their business model, and it's a very good business model, and I'm jealous of this business model. It's not the business model I chose, but that's what they do. With ActionJ, for instance, what we're doing is you're getting a basic result when you choose one of the agents, so it's already 30% better of what you do today, but the more feedback you're giving, the better it gets, because we avoid the data drift and therefore also the model drift, because you continually have human in the loop, as we call it, so you're giving feedback. And the more precise the prediction, the more feedback you need. So this is how it works. All right, so yes, do we have questions?
Time is kind of up. So for the real cases, if you like to have them, maybe you can share the slide deck, JP, later.
The what? Sorry, I didn't understand you.
If anybody wants to know about the examples, like successful cases that you're going to show, we don't have time, so maybe you can share the deck later.
You can find them on our website as well. They're on
Okay.
actionj.ai. That's even more easier. So yes.
Great.
So yes. So okay.
Yeah, it was very eye-opening, because we could see the nature and what we are doing, and we can recognize we are the part of the nature. That's what I kind of thought today. And my biggest takeaway was your question. Why should I trust your previous answer? Provide 3 reasons why it might be wrong. I find it very useful, and thank you very much for sharing this insight as well. And
wait, I'm gonna paste those questions in the chat so you can use them.
Right.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. If there's any other questions, please reach out, JP. We're going to share the recording very, very soon, and you're going to have the contact information as well. Thank you very, very much for today's session. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim. Doug, are you there?
I am here. How are you?
Good. How was the session?
I thought it was good, and what I'd like to do is, as a recap, or just kind of as a final bookmark, stick in the sand, JP, if you don't mind, what should we take away from today? What should we walk away with from your conversation?
Yeah, for me, the conclusion would be, please embrace the tech that is coming at us, but don't embrace it blindly. So be a techno-positivist, but take the right decisions. And in order to take the right decisions, you need to understand what's going on. So please investigate. And don't take an answer from an LLM as the truth, because it's not. So just being aware of all that makes you a superhuman, because you will be using tech in the right way.
Wow.
So, and that's what you need to try to be, embrace it like that. So yeah. And don't be afraid, because people are mostly all the time afraid. And what do? Yeah, they not using it. They try to, like be, like very, like very, like very refusal about it, etc. But then somebody else will use it and, like will run away with your job or do it differently, or you're being put out of the market or whatever. So you need to embrace it. You need to evolve, but you need to evolve in a smart way, like nature.
What's next for you?
How do you mean what's next for me? Personally, business-wise?
What's next for the business? What are you seeing coming up for Axon J for 2020?
We're busy getting a US footprint. So we're starting to go to the US, because we get a lot of demand there. So we're trying to get foot on the ground there. So that's our aim. Yeah.
Wow.
So we already
Great.
have an office in New York, and we're trying to move from there. As a European company, it's not always easy,
Right.
because it's a big market with its own behavior. So yes, that's our goal.
Sounds good. Well, let's definitely coordinate on that. Thank you for speaking today. And Yuka, did you have any final comments that you wanted to make? What impressed you about today?
As I said, the nature is our teacher, and this is what we have. Only we have, maybe, the earth and life. So that's it. And thank you very much for everybody who came, and JP to present, and Doug for holding this space. And until next time.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for
very
having
much.
me. Bye-bye.
Bye.